人命救助ソニックチーム最新作近未来レスキューアクションバーニングレンジャー Sega Saturn.
Okay, so Mr. Senshiro, I feel the need to critique your method. First of all, I'm pretty sure your first order of business is to get the people out of the building, and before you go into CPR, you need to start with chest compressions, for crying out loud. Alright, so, Burning Rangers. This was another game that I was really excited to play for the retrospective. I actually tried to be a firefighter at some point in my life, and I've always had a great love for emergency responders. I just think it's the coolest thing in the world to just be going about your day and then, you know, the alarm goes off and then you're just dropping everything to go help people. I just think that's awesome. So the idea of a futuristic game where you play as a firefighter, that sounded really cool to me, and the fact that it was made by Sonic Team also had me really interested. However, while I think Burning Rangers has a lot of good ideas in it, the execution is really what kills it. This game has not aged gracefully. So in the game, you take the role of a rookie member of the Burning Rangers, which is a elite firefighting team in the distant future. The game doesn't have much story beyond that, and I'm honestly okay with that. Like, really, if I were to play a firefighting game, I would just want the story to focus on, you know, rescuing people from fires, putting out fires, doing all that good stuff. And the game does mostly focus on that. You do occasionally have to fight enemies, but it's not to the point where the game becomes a shoot 'em up or anything. And as far as the graphics go, I mean, look at this. This is probably the best 3D graphics the Sega Saturn has ever had. The character models are super detailed, the animations are great, the levels are finely detailed, the pop-in isn't that bad. I mean, this is really good. It could probably pass for a PS1 game, it's so good. The music is great too. I just love the jazzy superhero style it has going for it. It sounds like it would be the theme song to Ultraman or something. As for the gameplay though, it is predominantly a 3D platformer and the controls are weird. Movement feels okay, but jumping is a little odd. For starters, it does the Zelda thing where when you reach a ledge, you automatically jump, but rather than your jump just being a standard jump where you're in the air and then you just control your trajectory with the D-pad, how you jump is dependent on how you're holding the D-pad in conjunction with the jump button, and based on that, that depends on how you're going to jump rather than, you know, just good old-fashioned play control. And it takes a lot of getting used to, and even when you figure it out, it still feels really awkward. The health system is also very strange. It actually functions in a similar fashion to Sonic. You collect these gems, which appear when you put out fires, but are also just sitting about in the levels. And they supposedly fuel a shield that protects you from the hazards in the game. When you take a hit, you drop all of them like you do with Sonic's rings. The gems are also required to fuel a teleporter that will get people out of the burning building, so you want to be sure to collect as many of them as possible. And like, it's an interesting system, and I feel like this could be a really fun game, but the way they do it, it just feels really awkward. The camera is especially bad. You're constantly having to stop and reorient yourself in order to see what you're doing, which really ruins the fast-paced nature a game like this should have. You should be rushing through the levels, looking for people to save as fast as possible before the situation gets out of hand. But you're just constantly having to stop to see what you're doing. It just ruins the flow of the game. And yeah, it's just really disappointing to play. I was hoping this would be a lot better. But there is one gameplay mechanic that actually does work very well for the game, and that's the voice navigation. You have a dispatcher who is in constant contact with you, and as you're making your way through the level, they will guide you through it. So you come to a fork in the road, the navigator will tell you which way you need to go. And to me, that's actually sort of a landmark in game design, because how many games can you think of today that have something like that, be it Cortana and Halo, Otacon and Metal Gear Solid, or any character who's talking to you over the radio in a video game. So yeah, that's really cool. But that doesn't save the game. Burning Rangers just is not very good when you get down to it. And that's a shame too, because I desperately want to like this game. It also didn't do very well for Sega either. This was one of the last games they put out for the Saturn, and because of that, copies of it are super expensive. Hell, the only reason I know about Burning Rangers is because there's a level dedicated to it in Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing Transformed. With Sega revisiting their franchises, I hope they take a hard look at Burning Rangers and decide to give it another shot, because I love the idea of being a firefighter. I would love a hyper-polished game that allows you to do that, but I doubt it's ever going to happen. People seem very hesitant to touch that kind of game. But anyway, that's going to do it for Burning Ranger, guys. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we look at the next game in the retrospective.